The next thing to talk about then is a little bit of discussion and negativity in WoW. Because, I mean, it was just something I've noticed.
Really?
Yeah, you know, it's something I've noticed, like, in sort of, like, the overall slate of our content, I suppose. And there's, like, a few, like, factors that I want to bring up because I think they're interesting. So, number one thing that I've noticed is a lot of our recent talk has been, you know, kind of Final Fantasy XIV hype. And a lot of that has been framed of its strengths versus WoW's weaknesses. Yeah. Of course, you can also frame that as WoW's strengths versus its weaknesses. Like, if you want to raid all the time, dungeon all the time, PvP all the time, I mean, basically, FF's not the game for you. It has less bosses, less, you know, stuff like that. But what is there does seem to be quite incredible. And, you know, it has all of its great pros that I think we've, at length, talked about.
Yes.
But it's anytime we talk about that, it's kind of inherently a bit, you know, feels like a bit of a dig.
Yeah.
On WoW. Part of that's because of who we are. Part of that's because of what we're saying. Who we are is, you know, people know us as WoW people. So if we're talking about the other MMO, it kind of feels like we're cheating on WoW or something like that.
Yeah, it must harken bad that we're playing something else instead of World of Warcraft.
Yeah. So it's that thing where it feels like a lot of people maybe think we're doing this from like a cynical perspective, right? Or, you know, like the sort of the negativity that comes out is sort of just that, just because it does well on YouTube. Which is an interesting thing, because certainly recently our clips channel has absolutely fucking exploded.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, it's putting it very lightly. Bellular clips is just doing so well. It's absolutely crazy. Yep. And it's just that thing where the negativity is actually completely natural because it's what we legitimately think, you know. And it's just that thing. If it wasn't that every week there is a PTR update that, like, yeah, sure, it's small, but in principle, it's just like, oh my god, they've made the same mistake they've made a million times. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if there's much a response that we can really give to some of those people who, you know, they're just going to assume that all things bad about World of Warcraft are, like, in bad faith.
Yeah.
And are purely, you know, motivated by, you know, sort of bad reasons. But for us, that is legitimately what we think. Yeah, I don't think anybody could, like, knock your credibility on genuinely liking FF14.
No, I actually, like, I genuinely have an extreme distaste, as you know, for being dishonest.
Yeah.
It pains me to be dishonest, and I, like, everything I say will either be I genuinely believe it, or I'm overtly excited and speaking a little bit out of line without completely thinking everything through. That'll be the height of it. But I am genuine with things I say. Maybe in the moment, but yeah.
Like, it's funny. I mean, there are certainly people who snipe us, and I think you people all know who those people are.
Yep.
You know, my opinion on that is I don't give a fuck. Basically, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's not going to change what we say, because what we're saying is what we honestly think. It's just like that sort of weird thing, you know, where I feel like there are people who, you know, I see the degrees to which they defend things and some of the arguments that they make, and I think this is extreme mental gymnastics, and actually in itself sometimes feels quite bad faith, or, you know, quite like sort of sneering and trying to prove a point that's not
I think
really a point that's actually based on the fucking shit we're talking about.
Toxic positivity in a nutshell.
Oh yeah. No, toxic positivity absolutely is a real thing. In fact, I'll say this, you know, people give Asmongold's people shit for, you know, being toxic or whatever. No, I mean, sometimes they're edgelords or whatever, or, you know, they'll see FF14 and be like, oh, weeb game suck, whatever. But no, they're not that bad. Like, they're general Twitch culture, and, like, that's grand, whatever.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is surface level.
Yeah. I've found that the toxic positivity people have, I mean, genuinely feel, or they seem to be far more nasty and far more, I mean, just actually toxic.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing, and you do wonder where that toxic positivity comes from, or, you know, why people maybe feel so, like, insecure in their lives or whatever that they have to be toxically positive. Because we sometimes, I don't know, just some of the comments we get and stuff like that, there are people, it just seems like there's some people who kind of lose their marbles at us just having a chat and some clips of that chat being in the internet. It's very interesting. Because it's basically like the chats, I mean, this stream is like it's extremely similar to the chats that we just have in Discord after raid.
Yeah, no, you like that's one thing. Well, we're quite literally putting on a show, but we're not putting on a show. Like, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. This is just, we're doing a conversation. There does happen to be 2 studio lights and 3 cameras over there and a computer running the whole stream. But no, this... Yeah, I mean, I think just sitting there being like, this is genuinely what we think, honestly. I mean, that feels very ungenuine because it should be pretty fucking obvious that, you know, what's going on is genuine.
You shouldn't assume, like, but...
Yeah. I think some of those toxic positivity people, you know, they're so sensitive. Maybe they take these things as a personal assault or whatever, but like they're so sensitive to anything that could seem as, you know, negative or criticism, they sort of blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
I'd wonder what some of those people actually think if they actually fucking watch the content involved. Because I know, like, for a fact, most of them don't at all. And then there's another thing, the whole negativity thing as well, where we put up a pretty balanced slate of content overall. I mean, it's definitely leaning more towards criticisms lately because there's a lot of stuff to criticize. It's like what they've done with Torghast is not really great. What they've done with a whole bunch of the systems is continuing things that haven't worked. So I think if you're, you know, if we're not criticizing that, we are part of the problem. But it's like, you know, we do actually put up plenty of positive things and invest a lot of time and resources into positive things. Like our whole Burning Crusade series that was made at a financial loss, but was made because we care about TBC, we care about WoW, and we made it because it's fun.
Yeah, it's a celebration of that fantastic time where we all played it for the first time, like.
Yeah. So honestly, I think my overall opinion here to the, you know, on this topic is to the people who are losing their marbles over it. Fuck you. I don't give a shit what you think. I don't think I ever will. Because I think listening to those people is an absolute dead end.
Yeah, if you're not going to engage in good faith, honestly, with every aspect of a conversation, then don't bother having it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, a few Redditors are angry at us. Could you imagine being such a fucking lemming? You actually care what r/WoW thinks about you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're used to like, I don't know if there's like some streamers who kind of, you know, like super lose their marbles over this sort of thing. Because like, I know in the past, like everybody, you know, you'd see people have like, you know, those like big meltdowns or like, you know, massively overswing in the other direction, and it'd be like, oh, they've buried their way into a button.
Yeah, I think it's that problem where it can feel so good to perform opinion, like exaggerate heavily, be hyperbolic, and then once that hyperbole becomes who you are as a person, then you kind of, or how you're seen as a person, not who you are.
Oh, then you're just fucking walking meme like.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you're wearing like, there's actually, it reminds me of I follow some really, not degenerate in a weird monk-ass way, but degenerate in a just like, these people are on the fringes of society in a really cool way. So there's a couple of people I follow on Twitter, and there's one just posted this like image of, you know, the crying Wojak under a mask.
Yeah.
And there was just like 15 masks.
That's the funniest image.
Yeah.
It's one of the best. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, they're like 15 masks, and I'm buried under so many layers of irony, I don't know who I am anymore. And it's like, there's such a truth in that for how people engage online. Not just with irony, but in like the hyperbolics of online conversation. You're just like, well, how did I get this far down this opinion when actually I'm like, realistically I'm way back here, but now I'm seen as the person who knows all this. Oh shit, well, look at that.
Oh man, yeah. So it's kind of a funny situation, the negativity stuff. It's like, I mean, hey Blizz, if you if you like the negativity, to stop doing things like random conduit upgrades that blatantly disrespect your players' time.
Yep.
Pretty simple formula, actually. So, yeah, funny old situation. I can't understand the people who will defend that or be angry at people criticizing them and stuff like that. That's like, it pretty blatantly feels like a fucking mobile game. But who knows? I think it's a situation of humongous copium going on in the WoW community. I think a lot of that's because people have been playing this game for a long time and, you know, maybe haven't accepted that things are just a bit different these days than perhaps they were at points in the past.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm just still trying to put my finger on why it gets just the way that it gets.
I mean, I can understand quite well, because I just imagine, I was trying to think, okay, well, how does one get to the point where they're so emotionally invested in a video game, or in like not just a video game, because that sounds dismissive, but how they're so invested in a franchise and an IP in whatever they're doing, especially if they have given so much of their time, their friends are all in that universe, etc. I can see why, because I can see why at a reactionary level, because I imagine if someone came up to me in the street and just said, Final Fantasy X fucking sucks, idiot.
Okay, Matt.
I would, yeah.
Final Fantasy X sucks.
Yeah, I would immediately feel like,
it doesn't. I'm not saying that.
No, it's an incredible game, but like I would immediately be kind of pissed off. But that's like the first level emotional reaction, which you then temper through, being a mature person. Kind of go, okay, well let's process that emotional reaction, and one, they're wrong. Two, they would only say this to provoke me, so whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think people get that emotional reaction and ride it because it's so deeply ingrained that a specific IP or franchise. And I'm not talking like just World of Warcraft.
Oh, dude, do you know what it reminds me of? The comment section of Digital Foundry videos.
Oh God, they're beautiful.
The console wars. Because that is really what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like console war people just going completely like off their marbles. Off their marbles, completely, whatever it was. But you know what it's like with the console wars, where, I mean, they're so touchy about their chosen corporate entity and hardware box of choice that apparently it's something worth getting extremely frustrated about. And it's like, why is it prickly? Is the whole point that you're not happy with your decision? So in that case, I mean, why?
Yeah, why are you trying to defend the decision you made? If you were happy enough with your decision, you wouldn't need to defend it. Which is something you would say. I think you would say that more to like an adult. As for a kid, I could see like the 12, 13-year-olds being caught up in the console wars because it's a more like raw sort of tribalism there.
It's something to do.
I
think there's a part of that where it's like when people buy a product and then they watch reviews because they watch reviews to see if the consensus opinion is in alignment with theirs because they want validation. That's why they go for the review, and that's why they can see, I don't know, like I remember it was like the Jim Sterling written review of Breath of the Wild was 7 out of 10. And they don't just like engage with that as, oh, that was this individual's opinion in this game. It was, oh my God, I looked at this review to feel okay, to feel validated in my purchase. And oh no, this respected figure is giving it a 7 out of 10. And then the shit that the Nintendo fanboys slung at the way of Sterling was so wild.
I mean, they're still at it. Like, there's a brutal amount of let's say people who are a little bit too engaged with Super Smash Brothers as a franchise.
Yes, the Smash fans are very hardcore.
That's
because Smash is awesome.
Yeah, it's like it. I love the game in all of its iterations except for Brawl, except Project M was fantastic. I very fondly remember playing Project M with my housemate at uni for hours on end. But it's actually, Smash is one of the really weird ones where they just don't engage with reality a lot of the time.
Yes.
Like there was actually, here's a very recent example, at the Nintendo Direct, Kazuya from Tekken was announced for Smash as a character.
Right.
And a lot of Smash people were saying, well, it's no Banjo. Like, who the hell knows who Kazuya is? Everyone knows who Banjo is. And it's like, Tekken 7 sold 7 million units. It's literally, it is a global cultural phenomenon. But you're just thinking, Bear from Nintendo 64 must be known by more. You're like, no, you're just like, refusing to engage with reality. And that was like a talking point. So I don't know how many people actually felt that way.
That's because people engage in personal reality, not base reality.
Yeah.
That's a big discussion. Potentially for some other form of time.
Yeah.
Form of time? Well, that's getting really deep. No, some other time.
Let's invent personal time to discuss personal reality.
Imagine having personal time. Imagine all the video games we could play if personal time was a thing. You could just just get lost in the Corthia Rift. Yeah. Finally, I could play all the games I want.
Yep. Oh, man. I mean, speaking of Breath of the Wild, even that Breath of the Wild, like the new trailer, people are at it again because...
oh, really?
There's it wasn't like a massive deal, but I did see it on Twitter this morning. People talking about the weapon durability again, because that was apparently the most controversial thing in Breath of the Wild, and now I think it was
partially
Greg Miller was like defending it from the player's perspective, saying like the players say it's not fun. Game devs say, well, it's actually really smart design for this reason, but players still say it's just not fun. So it's
Yeah, but I mean,
kind of like the players are right.
Yeah, but he's a.
Well,
I mean, this whole thing is he hypes games, right?
Yeah.
I always got that as being the shtick. That's why I've never really.
Yeah.
I mean, not to throw too many stones, but like I've never taken that stuff super seriously.
Yeah.
In the same way, like I wouldn't take a Jimmy Kimmel seriously because it's like,
Ooh.
you know, it's not his job. Like his job is to be there and to present and be excited and, you know, laugh at things and all that jazz.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really. It was that thing. I totally understand why they did the weapon durability in Breath of the Wild. I also didn't like it, even though I understood and agreed with all of their design goals for it.
Yeah.
And that's actually what it's like with a lot of the WoW stuff. It's like an interview with her or whatever. I hear all their philosophies. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I understand and agree with all of it, but it doesn't feel good. So there we go.
Yeah, that's see,
and that's where UX, right? Thinking about usability and those things. Those are an extremely important, I think, often underappreciated
definitely
slice of gaming where I think a lot of developers and designers can kind of sit down there and you know, actually form these very, very, very logically consistent and reasonable philosophies, but then when the rubber hits the road, they just don't end up working that well, even though they are logically consistent and make sense, because it turns out there is more to making a game than that, funnily enough. So, you know, that's just a little bit of it happening in the Zelda land. I think it obviously happens in the WoW land as well. So it's a funny little thing. It's a funny little thing. And I guess it's that thing where, you know, in WoW it just happens more and more because I think Final Fantasy does not try in that regard.
Yeah.
And generally it's like when WoW tries to just, you know, get a little bit more out, that's when it kind of stumbles over. Whereas I guess FF doesn't try. And maybe that's like a sort of a core difference. And maybe it's the case that those FF devs, if they did try, then they'd, you know, maybe just do the exact same convoluted stuff that Blizzard would do, and it wouldn't end up being that good.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Anyway, the point of this segment was basically just, like, I'm aware that there has been a lot of critique of Blizzard-related things lately. And yeah, I kind of wanted to address it, but my main addressing of it is, I mean, it's actually what we think. So, you know, if you've got a problem with that, fuck off. You don't have to watch. And if you're pissed off at people saying opinions, then tough shit. It's probably better for your own health if you just ignore.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And if you choose to engage properly, then, or let's say properly, as if it's, well, yeah, if you choose to engage properly, at least try to do it in good faith. Don't assume we're lying or assume we're, you know, just saying things for the sake of it. Like, I hold all the opinions I say here. I hold them all. If you disagree with what we say, by all means, like, disagree. Say how you disagree. Explain why you disagree. Go for it. That's completely. I'd be happy to see that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People should do that more instead of drawing invisible battle lines in the invisible sand.
It's the big Final Fantasy World of Warcraft war battle. Only one game can be good. It's either one is the best game ever and the other one's the worst game ever, or the opposite. There is no in between.
Video games.
This is gaming discourse in 2021.
Video games are binary. That's it.
Weeb game 0 out of 10. Fake and gay would not play.
Yep.
There we go.
There's a scale. Video game and garbage. That's the scale.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. Have you ever drank Pepsi? He's one of mine. Ah, you said Pepsi, not Pepsi Max. I ain't putting that sugar in me.
Also, it doesn't taste as good.
Pepsi Max is the one.
Yeah.
It totally is the one, man. Yeah.
That's
Pepsi
it.
Max is pretty awesome.
That said, I've not had actual Pepsi in a long time, because why would I?
Yeah.
Also, you don't buy it anywhere here?
True, yeah.
Don't
Taste worse is full of sugar that kills you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know, originally I was on the whole aspartame, never put that in your body train, but I ended up trying to do a very thorough review of all the literature in that, and couldn't really find too much overall. You know, sort of saying that aspartame is bad. So,
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, it's kind of.
Obviously, this is not a place to go for medical advice. Do your own.
Yeah, I have this really, really, absolutely brain dead approach to things, where I'll either do things right or wrong. And if I'm going to do some things right, I'll do them right. But if I'm just like, well, I'm not going to just drink water for all of time. So I'm going to just drink, I'll just drink Pepsi Max, whatever. I'll drink as much of it as will fit in me. I don't care.
Yeah, what were you saying, Mister, about weed being an offensive slur, people using it too freely?
Mm.
Yeah, I got it kind of used that way. I mean, if I say something in a funny voice, it's usually because I'm taking the piss out of whatever I'm saying. So, yeah, man. You could say everything is utter chaos, Bellular says unknown character. Yes, chaos. I only know one thing, and that's that I must kill chaos. Everything in my body says I must kill chaos.